A forecast is a provocative but plausible statement about the future that helps us make decisions today. And so let's unpack that for a moment, right? So provocative and plausible, right? So you can make a statement about the future. I could say, like, robots are going to, start self-replicating and create a new race and transform the entire surface of the earth into robotic territory or whatnot. That's somewhat provocative today, but if it's something you've heard before, it's not going to spur you to think about the future. You want to have a forecast that's provocative, right? It should make you think about new things, but we also believe it should be plausible. Like if I just said, like, in the future, I don't know, orange trees are going to grow to 1 million miles large and crush the earth. Like, yeah, okay, that's somewhat provocative, but it's not plausible in any way. So how do you create what we call a chain of plausibility? And that's where, when I mentioned signals come in. So how do you look at kind of small emergent trends? They may not actually succeed, but what could they suggest? And how can you create these chains of plausibility? So one of the tools we use, we have a whole toolkit that we not only use, but we also teach here, is something called, sometimes referred to as a futures wheel. This is kind of common in the foresight world, but we call our exercise or the tool drawing out consequences. You take a signal, like something like, today, let's say, like, researchers have found a way to pull electricity from thin air using these carbon nanotubes and these compounds. So you look at something like that might have some ideas. How do you draw out like first, second, and third order consequences so that you can begin to see, like, what's the chain of plausibility and to get to a more provocative statement. So part of what we do is, like, you want to look at kind of negative and positive consequences. You want to look at the complexity. And part of why you're doing this is also to say, like, what are our agency points in this? And our clients tend to be, for the most part, I mean, we're a nonprofit, so we do a lot of public-facing work, but our clients, our members, tend to be large companies and government agencies. So they actually have pretty big levers around the products that they decide to make, the policies that they decide to put out. And that's a lot of what we're trying to get them to ask is, like, okay, what are, there's Alvin Toffler, the famous futurist, said, like, there's kind of 3 types of futures. There's probable futures, there's preferable futures, and there's plausible futures. So for plausible futures, you need artists to think of, like, what's possible, like all the possibilities, right? You got to be creative mind. For probable futures, you need statisticians and mathematicians. For preferable futures, you need politicians, because you need to think about, okay, like, here's all the possibilities, here's what might happen, but what do we want as a people, as a humanity? So we try to help organizations kind of integrate these foresight practices in to help them have better conversations with their stakeholders, whether if they're a government or a corporation.